Greetings and welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm David Danto. I'm here with Dave Michels. Say wave to everybody, Dave. Where are you today?
I, I'm in Orlando, Florida, at the Lowe's Sapphire Falls. I'm going to call it the city. I'm going to say the city of Lowe's Sapphire Falls. This place is huge. I mean, this place makes the Vegas hotels look small.
So this is something you and I talked about actually since we started working together, how ridiculous it was that for every trade show, analyst firms would send all of their analysts to one show, which didn't really make a lot of sense because there are so many things going on. So this week, I just got back from Las Vegas at the National Association of Broadcasters conference. I counted, it was my 42nd year attending, plus or minus a couple that I actually missed. And while I was
No,
there,
42 years ago, was broadcasting just yelling really loud?
no, it actually was real broadcasting, but it wasn't nearly as much content creation. It was all actual big broadcast TV stations, networks, things like that. So we'll talk about that. But while I was there, you were where?
I'm at the Microsoft 365 community event, and we'll get into what a Microsoft 365 community event is in just a moment. But I just wanted to say, I'm broadcasting from here, so I should be at the broadcasting. Look at this. This is Dave on the road. You remember Al Franken used to have the one-man studio, and he turned his head, and the satellite would go out when he had the satellite dish on there. That's me. I'm doing it. I'm living the dream of a mobile broadcaster.
Well, we're going to get into NAB second. I want you to go first, but you're actually making the point of the show. One of the things that we saw at NAB this year is the embracing of content creators. And in fact, the explosion of content creators, the legacy broadcasters were still there with all the legacy broadcast equipment. Ikegami was there, Sony was there, Ross, all the companies that make the big stuff that everybody uses. But you know what? There was content creator tools. So a lot of my follow-up reports are going to be on these content creator tools, which is now being completely embraced by NAB. So you're a content creator.
I was also at Mobile World Congress, and they had, I think in the Ericsson booth, they had like a professional broadcast quality camera that had 5G on it, and so you didn't have to have any cables.
One of the things that's covered in some of my detailed reports, a camera company named Bolin, which I'd never seen before, created a standard PTZ camera, kind of the shape that you've seen before, but it simultaneously outputs video over IP, HDMI, baseband, broadband. It has like 5 outputs going at the same time. So that's kind of the direction a lot of the stuff is going in, where the technology is improving. So let's first talk about the conference that you're at. It wasn't a Microsoft event before. It was held before, but Microsoft sort of embraced it and adopted it, right?
Yeah, so it used to be a SharePoint event, and then it turned into a 365 event. And between you and me, Dave, don't tell us anybody. This is private conversation, right? Between you and me, I have no idea what 365 is because I'm looking at the content here, and let me tell you. There's nothing here in Microsoft Office. I assume Office was part of 365, but there's not a single session on anything to do with Office. But we've got certainly Teams, we've got OneDrive and SharePoint. Don't get those two confused. We've got Loop, we got Planner, we got Forms, we got Whiteboard, we got Viva, we've got not quite Dynamics, which is kind of interesting because I was expecting to see some Dynamics, but that's not part of 365. But Dynamics uses, for their CCAS, they use Teams Phone for their CCAS. And so it's like not quite going that far. But Places, I mentioned Places, there's just, there's a sprawl. Oh, there's Microsoft Stream. I don't know what 365 is. It's everything.
All right, well, let me explain to you what 365 is in a way that will get everybody at Microsoft angry at me and following up on this video. 365 represents every day of the year that Microsoft wants to be charging you for the same thing that they sold you initially once.
Don't go there. Don't go there. But I'll tell you, like, for example, there was a session on immersive video. And so I thought for sure that was going to be about that HP Dimension thing, whatever. But it turned out to be about Microsoft Mesh. I mean, it's like the list just keeps on going on. And so then, of course, there's the whole Power Platform. But where you went, Copilot, I don't know how many Copilots there are, but there's a lot of Copilots. And then there's Copilot Pro, and then there's 365 Copilot. And so just a lot of different things around Copilot. But that, I would say, AI was, of course, this, you'll find this surprising, David. AI was the overarching theme of this event.
Okay. Was Microsoft well represented there, or was it mostly the user community?
Well, I guess the answer to that is both. I also learned here that there's more to Microsoft Teams than Ilya. We know Ilya pretty well. I would say he's what I was trying to think of all his roles. He's certainly the chief spokesman. He's certainly the chief social guy. He's the king of MTR, and he's also the chief enforcer. We've run into that before. But it turns out there's like 1,000 people involved in teams. I have no idea, and a lot of them are running the sessions here, and then of course a lot of the sessions are run by the blue shirts, MVPs. It is indeed a community event, and as a result of that, I would say it's extremely. You have no idea when you go to a session how detailed and technical it's going to be, and how high level it's going to be. There's a very diverse audience here.
Okay. Did you learn anything news? Was there any announcements at the show?
I don't know if there's any actual announcements of the show, but I learned a lot, and there's certainly a lot of interesting things. I think the biggest news, and I have to get this wording right, so I keep on getting it wrong. Co-pilot call delegation was one of the bigger announcements here. It's basically a personal attendant, but it's pretty nice. I've seen two different demos of it, but basically you have a bot answer your personal line, and it can screen calls, it can make appointments, it can do all kinds of things for you, and it can even flip to different languages. And so uh, I think that's a pretty nice feature. They've actually made quite a bit of announcements, but I just don't know how many of them are actually pegged to this actual conference.
Mm. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be Mr. Cynical one more time again, since I started getting Microsoft angry with me before. I might as well continue that. Microsoft is very important to a lot of vendors, to a lot of manufacturers, and to a lot of providers of hardware and software and peripherals. I'm assuming that there were any number of them there because they wanted to make Microsoft happy that they were showing up.
Well, just like any show, there were a lot of people here that weren't in the expo hall, and then of course there's the expo hall. But again, M365 is a very diverse event, and so like in the expo hall, I saw like Barco, for example. I saw a couple of just a handful of the room vendors, and Cisco's like a sponsor here. Uh, but but it's not a Teams event. Uh, well, I will say though is that Teams got a lot of attention here, and in fact, in the keynotes, it was basically SharePoint and Teams. And I don't know where else you would go if you wanted to catch Teams in a keynote on a main stage keynote. And so this is kind of the Teams place right now. Quite a few Teams partners down there. I saw Matt Landis from he's got a CCAS add-on for Teams. So there are a number of Teams type of partners here. And I asked Matt because there weren't that many CCAS companies here. And I asked Matt, why are you here? And he says, because we care about the Teams community and we're a CCAS add-on for Teams. So it seems like a logical place. But Dynamics wasn't here. And so they're also positioning CCAS as a Teams add-on. So I can't quite figure out the code of who comes and who doesn't, but definitely running into a lot of familiar faces here.
So, it sounds to me, and again, I wasn't there, but it sounds like obviously Ignite is no longer a Teams event because it's Copilot, Copilot, Copilot. And clearly the team story, which would have been the center stage at Enterprise Connect, wasn't an Enterprise Connect because Microsoft wasn't an Enterprise Connect. Now, Ilya is going to be doing the keynote at Infocom in a couple of months. So maybe that will be where he talks mostly about Teams and what Teams is doing. But it sounds like this should be the Teams event, but it wasn't. It sounds like we're still missing an event that's dedicated just for collaboration.
Well, I guess that's an interesting way to put it because the way that they're repositioning Teams is basically the same as it always was. And hold on, let me correct myself there. Teams has always been about communications and collaboration. And so really they're redefining communications and collaboration because the workforce is changing. We work with other humans, but we're also going to be increasingly working with our agents. And so Teams is being kind of positioned as a central hub for the workplace of communications and collaboration involving both human and non-human collaborators. So Teams is actually kind of getting a reinvigorated shot on the arm and that's probably why it ended up on the main stage keynote here. Um, but the Microsoft story and the team story is incredibly broad, and I it's wondrous how broad it is. I mean, so at this event, I don't even know how many sessions there were altogether, but you in the app, you can narrow your sessions down by product. So if I put in just Teams in the 3-day event, there were 45 sessions on just Microsoft Teams, and so um, that's a pretty broad, diverse offering. I mean, that's going into calling. It's going into I don't know how many Copilot classes there were, but like I said, immersive with mesh. There's streaming. There's just Teams is really getting. It's almost an operating system at this point.
All right, so before we go on to NAB, clarify one more thing for me if you can, because I know that it was confusing to start with, and I was corrected a few times by the Microsoft folks. It is not a Microsoft event. It is an event run by the community, right? So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a Teams event.
Well, I don't know the full answer there. It was a SharePoint event that got traction, and it grew and grew and grew. And then I think it was either this year or the year before that Microsoft came in as a pretty major co-sponsor of the event. And so clearly there are parts of this event that are Microsoft controlled and Microsoft managed. And clearly there are parts of this event that are community managed. I would say that it's actually a pretty fascinating ecosystem here because it is I don't think these people even know that other applications exist. I mean, the people here are so in to the Microsoft community that this is the place where you go, and this is what Microsoft wants, right? I mean, they don't want you to be distracted by other solutions, and they have enough sessions to fill out an event like this with just the Microsoft story.
And I'm sure you're going to be writing up some of your experiences there and sharing some video as well, right?
I actually learned a lot here. It's actually been a really interesting event, and this is the first time they actually had I would call it an experimental, a light analyst track. It was combined with the customer track, and so it was very high level, very AI focused, not a whole lot of details on things like roadmaps or anything like that. But very interesting event. Good use of my good. I'm glad that I was here. Put it that
way. And you told me that there were a handful of analysts there, but I know a lot of the analysts didn't go. So hopefully that's something that they can improve or change later on.
It's interesting. It's such a diverse community at this event. I don't know how many analysts were here. I know the analysts that I know, and the analysts that I know tended to be more on the conferencing side of the enterprise communication stuff that we cover. I just attended a session on calling, for example. So there was definitely calling stuff here, but a lot of the pure voice guys weren't here, and the messaging folks weren't here. There were sessions on how to migrate from Slack and things like that, but it was very much a video group that was here.
Okay, so I see you're wearing the show T-shirt, the Microsoft Orlando T-shirt. My NAB T-shirt is in the laundry. I'll never wear a brand new T-shirt unless I wash it first. I get too many reactions to it. But coming back from NAB, it was a really interesting experience for me.
No, I know the B is broadcasters, but what's the N part?
It's the organization is the National Association of Broadcasters, NAB.
So strictly a U.S. North American type of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The international version of that show is called IBC, which is the International Broadcast Conference. It takes place in Amsterdam in September. So this is the U.S. version. A lot of the other organizations that I am a member of, SEMTI, the Society of Motion Picture Television and Engineers, was there, and SBE, the Society of Broadcast Engineers. So you got a lot of the official organizations, but it's really just a trade show that has always catered to the broadcast community. So the question
it's big, right? It's a real big event.
It's enormous. The pre-show levels of attendees would be in the 70 to 80,000 range. I'm sorry, the pre-COVID attendees would be in the 70 to 80,000 range. This year, they predicted registration would be more around 55, 58,000, and I don't have final numbers yet. But it's an interesting question as to whether or not it's ever going to grow bigger, because we have to talk about the content at the show.
So I imagine the broadcast space has really changed, because I saw it used to be, broadcast and streaming was kind of separate, but now I saw that I think it was YouTube has become the biggest broadcaster, bigger than any of the television stations now. And so was this really like broadcasting as in wireless, or does it matter anymore?
I would agree with you that it doesn't matter anymore, but it was I've always disliked how disjointed the NAB show was. I told you I've attended it for many, many years, and you would find yourself next to a $50,000, $60,000 broadcast camera, next to a company that sells sandbags, next to a company that sells broadcast cases. It was kind of all over the place. It had no story, no theme. And in looking at my perspective this year, when I was kind of writing my experiences of the show, what I've realized is that's kind of what saved the show, in that most conferences now, general purpose showrooming conferences, as you describe them, are shrinking. They're having a hard time getting people to come, because like Microsoft, where you are, would rather be at their own event than would be at these large ones. But because the NAB show has been so diverse over the years, you had some of the most complicated production switchers that would need to be run by a technical director, buttons all the way across. I mean, you'd think you were turning the lights on and off for the Las Vegas Strip with these buttons. It's really crazy. Next to a smart camera, a smartphone that had a little rig around it that had a light and a microphone and everything else, and the show worked because they've embraced the content creation community, and it probably, there was more of that than there was of broadcasting there.
Broadcasting with no story or theme, that's crazy, just crazy.
Well, if you want to see, I mean, I got something. You got a T-shirt. These are actual, and I'm going to do a show in a couple of weeks to talk about and test some of these things. These are microphones. This is made by Insta360. This is a Bluetooth wireless microphone and I don't know how good the microphone is. I'm sure it's fine. I'll try it. But what they've done is they've put e-paper on the front of it, where you can upload any image that you want. So now you can brand when you wear your microphones, which I know you always didn't like the blue lights from the ones that I used for Saramonic. The Saramonic people came out with this thing, which is really an awesome device. The microphones pull off the side. They're magnetic, so you can attach them, but you can also use it going back and forth if you're interviewing somebody, and the receiver for smart device is right over there. So, well,
I'm glad you got some samples. We got to try all this stuff out.
Absolutely, especially now that you've switched to other webcams. We got to get you some better webcams. We'll have to ask the Insta360 folks to get you a better traveling webcam than your DJI. Much better shot there now.
This is the built-in cam now.
Yeah. So I had a great opportunity to speak with some companies that you wouldn't specifically expect to be at NAB. So we're still here at NAB 2026, and I'm here with Larry O'Connor, who's the founder of OWC. OWC stands for Other World Computing, Otherworldly Computing.
There you go.
Tell us how the company started and what it's all about.
Yeah, we're still pretty well, we're doing the same thing, and for the same reasons we started. It was to give people more capability, enhance the technology that they already had. And we started in 1988. At that time, it was memory upgrades, it was internal storage, replacement power supplies, all sorts of fun stuff. In the 90s, got into processor upgrades. And then as we got into the 2000s with FireWire, we did SCSI drives, by the way, for a big stretch. But then FireWire changed the game immensely. Suddenly we had all sorts of different options on what chipsets could go into a solution. Hard drives were going in different directions. And our customers, many of which were in creative, were experiencing different issues with different brands that were out there. And we were a reseller of some of these brands when you look at the late 90s and the early 2000s. And as we listened to our customers, we understood that there was a little bit of kind of flavor of the week going on, and that's not how professional workflows work. Mm-hmm. And we came into position with storage solutions where we didn't just talk about theoretical interface speeds. We provided real-world performance and what they were compatible with, what you could do with the drives. So we weren't hiding behind the interface. We were giving people the real data and what chipset was inside, because that made all the difference. Today, a lot more of this is kind of under the hood. Things have gotten really fast, really, well, I would say inexpensive, but costs have gone up a little bit in certain areas the last few months. But having said that, there's a big difference between maximum performance and reliability and a lot of the other stuff that kind of works off of, how do we get the best lab results as opposed to what the real world results are. And still true to this day, we are providing solutions based on what our customers' feedback is, what their needs are, and that work in the real world, not just look good on a spec chart.
Are you doing any hedging based on what we're all expecting the cost of memory to be over the next couple of years, or any strategies around dealing with that?
We're
all suffering with the same boat, so it's not like I'm putting you out there. It's just, what do we do?
I hate to say, hope for the best, but it's an interesting balance that's happening out there with the different supplies. We see, there's certainly some, I won't say tug of war, but there's a big demand coming on the AI and the data center side of the equation. There are some realities that I hope bring some of that into balance and check some of that demand a little bit. There's a lot of overbooking, you've really got, some of the stuff going down, like there's going to be 4 winners in this space. There's all with the same, and that's not really going to be, there's going to be one winner and probably
there's also a lot of funny money going on. People are paying people with other people's stock, so one domino falls, we may get some consolidation.
It's the next few months are going to be interesting.
Why are you here? Why is the AV guy here?
Because you asked me to. No,
I asked you to go to CES, and you did.
I did.
But why are you here at NAB?
So there's a couple of things, because the other part of that is you have AVNation's audience, which is primarily IT and AV end users, decision makers. And I cannot tell you how many corporations, companies, sports franchises that are here as the decision maker, the customer, right? So this is Diversified and AVI SPLs and Alpha's customer that are here making those decisions because, well, you've got more and more broadcast gear going into facilities. There are 1,001 stories, but the best one I've got is a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey stripped out, call it 5 conference rooms, and refitted them as a studio. So yeah, those customers, our audience, is coming here. They're using the gear, so we need to be aware of what they're talking about.
So let me ask you. I want to pick your brain just on that one. Just peel the onion a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Are they putting in broadcast gear and creating studios, or is the AV gear that's being created nowadays more appropriate for broadcasting, or both?
No, both. It's so let's take a couple of instances. If you're going to put in a conference room, you're going to have some sort of PTZ camera that has, a finite glass lens system, right? That is perfectly fine for a meeting, right? The audio is going to be perfectly fine for a meeting. You would not, however, you expect to use that, at least you shouldn't, for something that is broadcast quality, whether that's a town hall, whether that is for external communications, whatever it is, there is a step above that, specifically about the cameras or microphones, really. And so there are companies that are outfitting complete studios, complete broadcast studios, in order to do internal and external communications because they control the narrative, they control their own story. They're not going out and hiring a video production firm 3 or 4 times a year, because the cost of doing that is the exact same as building out their own studio once.
So we're still here at NAB 2026. I'm at the Saramonic booth with Madeline Budd, my friend Madeline.
Hi.
Madeline
Welcome,
is actually
David.
my friend. Madeline is the person who sent us these microphones to use that I've been using for the last year on trade shows. And I've been telling her that I love them because they're not only functional, but they're durable. I can shove them in my pocket, and if I drop one on one side, it still works. Very good stuff. But it's not your newest product, is it?
It is not.
It's
tried and true, but our newest product is the Saramonic Air SE, and this is a $49 system that is a dual system, so it has 2 transmitters, 1 receiver right here, which is USB-C. We also have a Lightning version, which if you want both USB-C and Lightning, it's $69.
And it fits right in this same case.
Fits right in this case, and this is also a charging bar. that also doubles as a handheld mic holder. So if you're doing interviews, you can use the microphone like this. So it's great. It's all encompassing right in this package. It's essentially, this is all you need to get up and running. You just throw it in your pocket. It's about the size of a lipstick. I have my lipstick here. I can literally show you. It's about the size of a lipstick, so you can see. But it's just great if you need something on the go, a solution really where you want better audio for your mobile content. It's a great solution.
Is it available now?
It's available now. You can buy it on Saramonicusa.com, or if you're an international customer, you can buy it on Saramonic.com.
And again, this was part of this whole big broad community of things that we're all calling broadcast.
So when you say broad community, you're kind of you're tagging our community as broadcast.
Yes. One of the things, and this is you and I will have this discussion, and we did online, and I'll have it with other people as well. Only David Maldo yelled at me over this. Everybody else didn't know. Apparently, one of the companies that does broadcast graphics, VizRT, VIZRT. I've known them for 2 or 3 decades. They were one of the companies that helped me do the graphics on the front of the Lehman Brothers building, which is now the Barclays building in Manhattan. So very complicated computing. They've made a software platform that works inside Zoom that lets you do broadcast quality lower third titles inside Zoom, and not just for when you're doing recording. I know Zoom won an Emmy for some of their advanced tools and things like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about broadcast quality titles just for Zoom meetings. So instead of the little names at the bottom.
But it's not just for Zoom meetings. It works with Teams too, doesn't it?
This one was just for Zoom.
Okay, all right.
VizRT. I'm sure that there'll be something with Teams. These guys always leapfrog each other. But the point is they were prominently talking about that at NAB, that they have this Zoom thing. And honestly, I had not heard Zoom make a peep about this as an available feature, because I think it would differentiate them. It's not in Teams right now, and it's not in WebEx right now, and it's not in Google Meet right now. The idea that, if those little tags, instead of that there, it'd look like a real professional naming and some professional graphics. So I would like to see Zoom talk about that some more, and it looks like they're going to. That's some conversations that I've had with their people, that they're going to try and refine their messages, as you pointed out when you were just at Perspectives, that it's meetings to the next piece, not just the next piece sitting there.
So one thing I've noticed is that, 'cause I watch a lot of YouTube interviews, and YouTube podcasters always have a giant microphone and giant headphones. And like I'm talking to you right now in your studio. I don't see a microphone or headphones. And most of our videos, we don't have microphones or headphones that are visible. And so my question is are we doing something wrong, or is the giant microphone and headphones just part of the stuntware?
Well, interesting you should say that, because as the audio show that I said I'm going to do, I've just switched over my microphone to this one that the folks at Sennheiser sent me, the Profile USB microphone, which comes with that big rig, and it comes with the big microphone, and it sits in front of you. Honestly, does it sound better when you use one of those big rigs and you're speaking right next to it? Maybe a little. But I don't think it's specifically the microphone. The quality of the microphone is what it is, whatever it is. If you're right, if you're using the physics to be as close to it as possible, you're going to get the best possible pickup, as long as you put some sort of shield in front of it to stop the popping. I'm using this microphone, but I've sort of taken that big arm and I've just sort of chucked it on the other side of the room. I don't really want to have that ego in the picture. I'm using that very same microphone just off camera. You can follow my finger going down, right there is where the microphone is. I don't think I need to brag that I have a microphone here. And the good thing about this one, as opposed to the one I was using before, is it's got a little bit of a gain control, so I can adjust it as I need to go on the fly. So I like the microphone. I don't really need the bendy rig. I don't need to show off that I look like a radio guy.
So what you're saying is these podcasters with the big microphones, they're compensating.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that completely. Now, when you want to have an uncluttered desk, having something that's off to the side so that the microphone isn't in front of you really helps. My problem is I have a cluttered desk anyway, so I didn't have room for anything else. So I have it clamped right to the beginning here. I'd pick it up and show you, but it is clamped to the desk. Maybe I can hold on. No,
I'm sure Sennheiser would be very happy if you unclamped it.
Yeah, well, I will for the show. I'm going to be doing an audio show that shows the microphones that I was just showing off, that This thing over here, this is another interesting device that's going to be part of that one, and I'm going to be testing all this. This is a speak-on device, it's called, and it attaches to your phone magnetically like that if you've got the standard, magnet in the
Yeah.
back. But what this does is it kind of does what an AI engine would do, where if you speak in plain English, like I want to meet with you at 3 o'clock at the
Right.
doctor's office. Oh, I don't mean the doctor's office. I meant the nurse. Oh, I didn't mean the nurse. I meant the restaurant. When you dictate like that, it'll take it and clean it up into a straight message. I want to meet you at 4 o'clock at the restaurant. So it's an interesting feature. I'm not 100% sure what it does in this hardware versus what it does in its software. So I'm going to kind of play with that. But we're going to try all of these and show it to everybody within the next couple of weeks. It'll be one of my tech perspective shows.
I expect we're going to see a lot of devices like that for the UCaaS vendors, because they're all trying to capture more and more of the conversation. So they're, right now we've seen like Zoom and WebEx have come out with apps for your smartphone. But I wouldn't be surprised if that turns into hardware devices.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's up next. Now that you're heading home, I assume, after this one?
I'm heading back to Europe. I have no idea where home is, but I'm heading back to Europe. My next event is actually going to be a quick trip over to France. I'm going to go see the folks that didn't reach. And then I'm going to be grounded. I'm going to be grounded most of the summer. I'm going to take an immersive language class. So they're taking away my boarding passes.
Okay. Well, if you can figure out your Schengen zone problems, you should be fine.
Well, don't have to figure them out if you don't move.
Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of time off in the middle of May. I'm going to finally see the glaciers before they melt. But then after that, I know. But then after that, my big show is going to be Infocom. And the interesting thing about Infocom is I've already heard some amazing news. There's going to be some big breaking news.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. No.
Well, I don't want to say I've got a secret, but I've got a secret. So I'm very much looking forward to that show. I did hear that a lot of the display manufacturers, the traditional ones, the Samsung and a few of the other ones, NEC, Sharp, have pulled out of the show. So again, we're hearing more manufacturers that are, watching their bottom dollar, especially with the crazy geopolitical stuff. But, we know that both Cisco and Microsoft are giving keynote presentations there. I'm giving a presentation there. So it's going to be interesting. And there's going to be some pretty big breaking news coming out of Vegas again in June. I leave Vegas, I come back to Vegas. Every time I go, they pull me back in.
For political reasons, I'm pulling out of the show. I will not be at Infocom. And that's my excuses for now, but maybe it'll change.
Okay, let's see how you feel when you hear about some of this breaking news that's coming up. But anyway, was your time in Orlando worthwhile?
Yes, the food was good.
Other than the food, was your time in Orlando worthwhile?
No, it's amazing. It really is amazing how much stuff is going on within the Microsoft environment that I didn't fully appreciate or understand. There's just so many moving parts. So yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's terrific. So you had a good time in Orlando. I had a good time in Las Vegas, and we will chat again the next time something pops up. I did read a note on our show that we did on Mythos. I read a note this morning that Mozilla found 175 flaws in Firefox that they've patched because of Mythos. So they're either bragging about it or it's real.
By the way, I'll plug now. We have an upcoming show. I'm not even sure you know this yet, David. We have an upcoming show on Amazon Leo and low Earth satellites.
Terrific. You and our buddy again, right?
Yes, that's absolutely. We'll get a special guest, Sorrel Slaymaker, to join us on that one.
Terrific. Okay. Well, safe travels home, Dave. Thanks very much. And you guys, thanks very much for watching the show as always. I hope you enjoy the clips and everything else that we put together. We'll see you next week.